compromise, I should say, does Kavanah at an earlier stage go ahead and compromise a latter stage? Or I should say, let me say it differently. Does Kavanah for a latter stage, right, compromise? So you come down to both these cases, Reish Lakish. It's only in this case that Reish Lakish holds his position. Aval pnim mipnim ema modile Rabbi Yochanan. We'll say, however, again, for something inside the Beis Hamikdash for karbanos, maybe Reish Lakish only holds his case by cooling. But ultimately, again, a future or mindset that a future avoda should be possible. Ultimately, again, is really problematic by kosher by cooling. But by karbanos, ultimately, however, the there's a difference here. So most of the idea is because one piece is karbanos and one I like the machlokes in both cases. So we'll say, so fundamental machlokes in Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Again, we'll focus on the karbanos case because that's the sugya. Focus not only by kachim but ultimately by chulin. So it says. Suppose it goes on with Rabbi came along and he said, so Rabbi went ahead and brought to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Ila received the nation, and Rabbi Ila brought through. So Rabbi Yirmiyah brought a proof to Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that when you do shechita, but you have in mind that zrika is going to be done shelo lishma, that the carbon is possible. So what's the proof to Rabbi Yochanan? Uma b'makom say if now makom in this case means pigul. But remember again, pigul is a specific thing where a kohen at some point during the avoda goes ahead and has in mind to consume the carbon outside of the permitted window. That's called pigul. So we'll say, so again, in the case of pigul, Shim Amar Harini Shochet Chutz Lizmano Shu Kasher. If Kohen, we'll say the time of Shechita says, it's prescribed time, the carbon is still kosher. And of course the carbon is still kosher. Why? Because first of all, again, he's shechting it, and meaning he's making a statement that does not align with what he's actually doing. He's shechting the carbon at a totally legitimate time, even though he's making the statement that I'm going to shech the carbon chutz lizmano. So that's totally kosher. Yet in that same case, shachat amenas lizrog damo chutz lizmano pasul. If he were to shecht the carbon with the condition to, or with the mindset to sprinkle the blood outside of its permitted time, ultimately the carbon would be pasul. Makom shim amar harini shochet shalo lishmo pasul. Therefore, both say in a case of ultimately again, where let's say he shechts chatos shelo lishmo, where he shechts chatos shelo lishmo. If he were to say I'm shechting it shelo lishmo pasul, it would be pasul. Shachta amenas lizrog damo shelo lishmo. If he were to shecht it on the condition that he's going to go and do this rika shelo lishmo, eino din sheyeh pasul. Doesn't it go without saying ultimately again that the carbon would be pasul? So we'll say this seems to be a proof. Rabbi Yochanan. Maskifla Rava Bar Ahiloi, so Rava Bar Ahiloi raised the kasha on this. Maluchutz Lizmano Shekain Karis. But 1 second, and we'll say, how can you compare those cases? Ultimately, again, the case of Chutz Lizmano would be a din of Karis. Look at Rashi. Shekain Karis. Ha'ochel Pigol Afilo La'alter Chayiv Karis. Ho'il V'chamer Mahanyi Bei Ma'avoda La'avoda. But in the case of Pigol, consumption of a Pigol carbon carries with it a penalty of kares. If it carries with a penalty of kares, so I begin to understand ultimately again why there would be a psul when one has the wrong kavanas from one avoda to the next. Ella Amar Rava Bar Ahiloi Hachi Kamar. So Rava Bar Ahiloi says, rather, here's what you have to say. Uma makom she'im amar harini shochet chutz limkomo shu kasher. We'll say if in a case where a person says, I'm going to shecht this carbon chutz limkomo, outside of its prescribed area. We'll say even if you say that, it's kasher. Why is it kasher even if you say that, Rabbi saying? Because at the end of the day, independent of what you're saying, we look at what you're doing. Where are you shechting this carbon? The case of you're shechting the carbon inside the Beis HaMikdash. So your statement effectively is irrelevant. Yet, shachto amanas lizrog damo chutz limkomo pasol. But if you shechted the carbon with the intention to sprinkle it outside of its permitted area, ultimately again the carbon will be pasol. Therefore, makom shim amar harini shochet shalo lishmo shehu pasol. Therefore, we'll say in a case where a person says that if I'm going to shech the carbon shalo lishmo, that the carbon is going to be pasol. Shachta amanas lizrog damo shalo lishmo. If he goes in and he shechts it on the condition to sprinkle its blood shalo lishmo, eino din shehe pasol. All the more so, ultimately again it should be pasol. Again, I'm both saying a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. Maskef Ravashi. 1 second. Ma luchutz limkomo shekei noi b'chal Zevachim. But 1 second. But I will say in the case of chutz limkomo, shechting a carbon chutz limkomo outside of its prescribed area, that is something that applies, or that's a prohibition that applies to all karbanos. Tomar shelo lishmo shenonoeg ela bepesach v'chatos. But also the concept of shelo lishmo. Also, let's go to our first Mishnah. The concept ultimately again that a carbon is totally invalid if offered up shelo lishmo is only a din by pesach and chatos. By all other cases, if you offer up a carbon shelo lishmo, then what happens? What happens? The carbon is kosher. It's not misyaches, right? It doesn't satisfy the obligation of the owners, but it's totally kosher. Ella Amar Ravashi, rather Ravashi says, Hachi Kamar, this is what it means to say, Oma b'makom, both saying in this case we're referring to a situation of shinui bailim, right, where you have in mind for the wrong owner, Uma b'makom shim amar harini shochet l'shem ploni shu kosher. And also in a case where you have in mind to shecht it for the wrong owner, yet the carbon is still kosher, Lizrok damo shalo lishmo l'shem ploni pasol. We'll say if you have in mind to sprinkle the blood at time of zrika, to do it ultimately again for someone else, the carbon is pasol. Makom shim amar harini shochet shalo lishman shu pasol. Amanas lizrok daman shalo lishman enudin shei pasol. Therefore, I will say all the more so in a case where a person goes ahead and says that I'm going to be zorek the dam, I'm going to do the zrika shel l'shmo, then certainly again the carbon should be possible. So I will say all of this was a support for the position of Rabbi Yochanan. Remember again, Rabbi Yochanan shita very simply is mechashvin me'avoda la'avoda, that you could have, if you have erroneous mindset for one avoda during the previous avoda, that still invalidates the carbon. So just to plug it into our case, if I shecht a carbon l'shma, but I have in mind at the time of the shechita that I'm going to do the zrika shelo l'shmo, I have in mind that I'm going to do the zrika not for the purpose of this particular carbon, then according to Rabbi Yochanan, what's the halacha? The carbon is pasol. Where does Rabbi Yochanan get this from? So that's based on two principles. Principle number one, mechashvin me'avoda la'avoda. You could have kavana from one avoda to the next avoda. And number two, where does this all derive from? Rabbi Yochanan posits it derives from pigul, because the concept of pigul tells me that if the Kohen has an erroneous mindset to do something later on, even though right now he's at an earlier stage of the carbonic process, that erroneous mindset for later on compromises the carbon already now. Fine. Now the Gemara transitions. Rabbi Ila comes along and says as follows. Rabbi Ila l'siyeh l'Reish Lakish. Rabbi Ila comes to support the position of Reish Lakish. What does he say? Lo tomar bezrika v'tisi v'kavachomer mi biniya mishchita v'kavala. So let's listen to this. So Reish Lakish comes along and says something a little bit different. Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's Rashi right across from Tosas Makom. Lo tomar bezrika v'chashvin shelo l'shmo. So we'll say, ultimately again, don't say, the Torah goes out of its way to tell me that Zrika has to be done Lishmo. Right? Mechashin Shalol Lishmo. So I'm sorry. Don't say by Zrika that even if Zrika is done Shalol Lishmo, that it's still kosher. You don't. So the Torah goes out of to tell me that even if a zrika is done shalol l'shma, ultimately the carbon will still be kosher. Also, again, remember that's the halachas we've established from the first Mishnah. That even if a carbon is done shalol l'shma, again, like we said before, the carbon is kosher. Just the only difference is it may not satisfy the obligation of the particular owner. Now the Torah goes out of its way to tell me this by all the various stages of the avodah. The Gemara now suggests, Rabbi Ila suggests as follows. The Torah doesn't have to say anything that Zrika Shalol Lishma is kosher. And even had the Torah not said anything by Zrika, I would have said what? V'tisi mikal chomer mibiniya meshchita v'kabbalah. And I could go ahead and learn that from mikal chomer, from shchita and kabbalah. Look at Rashi. Meshchita v'kabbalah. Uma shchita shekshera bizar psula b'shalol lishma. So I would have said as follows. When it comes to shchita, which is kosher bizar, right? Even a non-Kohen is permitted to do shchita. Yet Rabbi will say, what's the halacha? Psula b'shalol lishma. Remember, as we're talking about simply about by chatos and by Pesach, right? So by all other karbanos, shchita shalol lishma is going to be kosher. By Pesach and chatos, shchita shalol lishma is going to be pasul. So when it comes to shchita, so by shchita, which is kshera bizar, and I could have learned out essentially zrika from a kavachomer, or really from a joint limud between shchita and kabbalah. If shchita ultimately again, which is kosher, even by a non-Kohen, yet again by Pesach and by Chatos cannot be done lishma, then what? I should say differently, is pasul. If it's shalol lishma, then certainly what? Zrika, which cannot be done by a non-Kohen, would certainly go ahead and be asur if it's done shalol lishma. To which the Gemara says, Lamai hilchasa kasav rachmana. So if that's the case, why does the Torah go out of its way to discuss zrika? If zrika could have been learned out from a kavachomer, from shchita and kabbalah, lomar de'in machashvin me'avoda la'avoda. But it must be coming to teach us that what? That you can't learn out one avoda from another avoda. Look at Rashi. De'in machashvin me'avoda la'avoda ella bishras zrika gufei by mechshav. But to teach me that the avodos are reckoned separately. And therefore, again, an erroneous mindset by one avoda does not compromise ultimately in something that will happen later on. Or in this particular case, what it really means to say is as follows: that wrong or illegal kavana by shchita for zrika will not invalidate the carbon. Maskef Papa, Shapapa raises the kasha, v'dilma demechashvinan me'avoda la'avoda. But maybe maybe it's not true. Maybe in fact what the Torah is teaching me is that halacha lamaisa, I can have intent from one avoda to the next avoda. Look at Rashi. V'dilma lahachi kasve lashmo inan rabusa demechashin me'avoda la'avoda. Maybe it's just the opposite. Maybe the Torah is going out of its way to articulate each of the avodas to teach me that you can have kavana from one avoda to the next avoda. Says it doesn't make sense. I'll tell you why. Im kain lishtok kra minei v'teisi mikavachomer dravashi. I'll say ultimately again, if that's the case, the Torah could have remained silent and ultimately what? Learned all of this out from the kavachomer of Ravashi. V'idach, and the other opinion will say, V'idach parachachi, the other opinion will ask as follows, Malahanach, there was in the case of Shchita v'Kabbalah, Shekin tu'unos tzafon, v'yeshran b'chatos ha'pnimios. Ultimately again, Shchita and Kabbalah are different. Why? Because number one, they're done in the northern side of the Beis HaMikdash, v'yeshran b'chatos ha'pnimios. And the halacha also is that they apply by the inner chatos. V'idach, hashta b'niha b'shlamim kaminan. And but the other opinion will counter and say, Rashi points out, this is Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan will say, but here we're dealing with shlamim, itmar, shachta shlishma, lizrok tamash shlishma. So we'll say, so bottom line is, we have this machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish about mechashivin me'avoda la'avoda. We'll say, if a person is shechting the animal lishma, but has in mind during the shechita that he's going to do the zrika shalol lishma, does that compromise the carbon or not? Rabbi Yochanan says yes, the carbon is pasul. Reish Lakish says no. Now we've articulated this machlokes in two cases. One is a case of carbon, one is a case of chulin. The same machlokes applies. Now we've also brought ample proof to support each of the shitos. To which the Gemara now loops back to the original discussion. Itmar, shachta lishma, lizrok dama shalo lishma. Suppose now the Gemara says, if I shechted a carbon lishma, what I say again? So to be very clear, I'm bringing a shlamim. I'm shechting my shlamim for the sake of shlamim. I'm actually doing the right thing. But at the time of the shechita, I have in mind that what? That I'm going to do the zrika l'shem chatos for a different carbon. Shabbos say is illegal. So I have in mind at the time of the shechita that I'm going to do something illegal at the time of the zrika. So what's the halacha? Rav Nachman Amar Psula. Rav Nachman says, like Rabbi Yochanan, that what? That the carbon is pasul. Rabba Amar Kshera. And Rabba says that the carbon is kosher. V'hadir bei Rabba l'gabe Rav Nachman mikal b'chomad Rav Ashi. But then Rabba recanted his position. Rabba took back his position, realigned himself with Rav Nachman because of the Kal V'chomer of Rav Ashi, seemingly saying that what? That if you have in mind at the time of the Shechita to do something illegal at the time of the Zrika, the carbon is already pasul in accordance with the position of Rabbi Yochanan. So we'll say, how do we paskin? This actually is a very interesting case, we'll say, because really in carbonos, what this is saying over here is as follows. A person is doing something totally legal right now. I'm shechting, my shechita is totally good. L'shem the right carbon. But I have in mind at the time of the shechita for something in the future. Does that compromise the carbon? So also listen to this. So the halacha is, this is in Perek Tesvav of Hilchos Psuli HaMukdash in the Rambam, halacha Yud Aleph. Listen to this. HaPesach sheshachtu b'machsheves shinui Hashem bein sheshina. I'm sorry, this is... Shachta l'shma, I'm sorry. Halacha Yud, not Yud Aleph. Shachta l'shma v'chishe v'shas hashchita lizrok dama shalol l'shma. So we'll say this Mamish, the Rambam quotes the case verbatim. I'm shechting the carbon l'shma. So again, I'm shechting the carbon for the right intention. But at the time of the carbon, I have in mind that what? V'chashav b'shas hashchita lizrok dama shalol l'shma. But at the time of the shechita, I have in mind to do the zrika shalol l'shma. What's the halacha? Harei zu psula. Also, the Rambam Paskin is like Rav Nachman, like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Nachman, that the carbon ultimately is possible. Why? What's that? Because the Rambam accepts Rabbi Yochanan's principle. One could have in mind from one avoda to the next. The zos hamachshava shechasha b'shas shrita kilu chashva b'shas zrika ulefichach psula. And therefore, the machshava that I have at the time of the shrita, it's as if what? I had it at the time of the zrika, and therefore, again, the carbon will be possible. So we'll say halacha l'maisa, we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan and like Rav Nachman. Good. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Afes Ha'ashan. So let's remember again back to the Mishnah. So the Mishnah said that although under normal circumstances, so all karbanos, if you offer them up shalom lishman, are still going to be kosher. Nevertheless, what's the halacha? All karbanos, if you offer them up shalom lishman, are still going to be kosher. Nevertheless, chatos and pesach, if you offer them up shalom lishma, ultimately again will be pasul. Rabbi Eliezer comes along and says also the asham. The asham, I will say, is the sin offering, right? Another sin offering. So Rabbi Eliezer says also an asham, if offered up shalom lishma, will be pasul. Tanya Amar Rabbi Eliezer chatos ba'achet va'asham ba'achet. So we'll say, we're out to Rabbi Eliezer's logic. Why does he also include asham in this? He says as follows. A chatas comes for the sake of a sin, and a asham comes for the sake of a sin. Ma chatas shalo lishma psula, just like a chatas, Rabbi say, offered up shalo lishma, is ultimately again going to be pasul. Af asham shalo lishmo pasul. So too I will say, what? An asham that is offered up shalo lishmo is also going to be pasul. So we'll say that's Rabbi Eliezer's whole logic. If chatas, which is a sin offering, is pasul shalo lishmo, so too again an asham, which is a sin offering, if offered up shalo lishmo, is also going to be pasul. Amar lo Rabbi Yoshua lo im amrat bechatas shekin dama lemala. So 1 second, asham is different. Why Rabbi say? Chatas is different because its blood is offered lemala. Rabbi say, look at Rashi just a moment. Shekin dama lemala. Mechut hasikra. But it's actually a very important halacha. On the Mizbeach, Rabosai, there was a red line. There was a red line that went across the Mizbeach. Some sacrificial blood was sprinkled on top of the line. Some sacrificial blood was sprinkled below the line. Look at Rashi. Shekin dama lamala mechot hasikra distan b'meseches midos chot hasikra chogeres beemtza the havdil bein damim alyonim ledamim hatachtonim. That ultimately, again, the chot hasikra abosai straddled the Mizbeach to go ahead and distinguish between upper blood and lower blood. The idea being able to say that's what? That halacha l'mais. So therefore, again, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yoshua says, Loim amrit bechatos shekin dam lamala. Chatos is different. Rabbi Eliezer's logic was, chatos is a sin offering, asham is a sin offering. If chatos is asr shelo lishma, then what? Then asham is asr shelo lishma. To which Rabbi Shmuel just says, "Well, 1 second, but they're not the same. Chatos, the blood is sprinkled above the line. Asham, it's below the line. Only Rabbi Eliezer, Pesach yochiach. Pesach will prove it that what? Shedam alamato v'shachto shlosh apostle. It's fine. Pesach will say blood of Pesach is sprinkled below the line, like Asham, and yet what? If offered up shlo l'shmo, it will be puzzle. So that's a good proof for Asham. Amr Rabbi Yoshua Mala Pesach shekin zmano kavua. Pesach is different than Rabbi said because Pesach has a set time. Amr Rabbi Eliezer Chatos tochiach. Well, Chatos Shlomo say because again Chatos doesn't have a set time, and yet if offered up shelo l'shma, ultimately again it's possible. Amr Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua says 1 second, we're going to go in a circle here. I told you can't learn out Asham from Chatos. Why not? Because Chatos the blood is sprinkled above the line. Asham, the blood is sprinkled below the line. Chazrani Chalila. Chazr Rabbi Eliezer v'dano dinacher. So Rabbi Eliezer goes back and he says something different now. So what happens? Ne'emar ba hi b'shchita. Silimar says Ne'emar ba hi b'shchita. Silimar says, let me say that again. Ne'emar ba hi b'shchita. Hi lishma kshera. Shelo lishma psula. So it says over here. By the Siyah of the Nasi, it says over here, he, by Shchita, to teach you that what? That if the Shchita is done Lishma, it's kasher, Shalo Lishma, it's pasul. Pesach ne'emar bo, hu, bisvicha. What's this by Karban Pesach? It says the word hu, by the Shchita, by the slaughtering of the Pesach, hu Lishmo kasher, Shalo Lishma pasul. So you see, wherever the Gemara is developing a theme over here, wherever there's a requirement of Lishma, the Torah seems to go out of its way to add in this word who or he, which means it, right? It. The Karban, telling you the Karban has to be the Shema. Af Asham ne'emar bo hu. So too by Asham the Torah adds in the word who. Hu lishmo kasher, shelo lishmo pasal. If the Asham is offered up lishma, then it'll be kasher. But if it's not offered up lishma, then it'll be pasal. So we'll say, remember again, just so we keep our eye on the ball over here, we're just trying to figure out the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer. The Mishnah said to me that although all other karbanos, if offered up shelo l'shmo, the carbon is pasul. The carbon is kasher. It just does not count towards the obligation of the owner. By chatos and Pesach, the carbon is going to be pasul. Rabbi Eliezer comes along and adds in asham as well. Why is asham added in? So Rabbi Eliezer wanted to say very simply, chatos is a sin offering. Yet if offered up shelo l'shmo, will be pasul. So asham, which is a sin offering, also if offered up shelo l'shmo, will be pasul as well. To which the Gemara is just pointing out the differences over here between asham versus chatos. To which the Gemara now seems to be saying, here's the common denominator. All of these cases, Pesach, chatos, and now asham have the word who. Wherever you see the word who, there seems to be a biblical insistence on the Shema. Amar Rabbi Yoshua, Chatos ne'emar ba hi b'shchita. So Rabbi Yoshua says, but 1 second. By Chatos, the word he appears by the shchita. Hi l'shma kshera, shlo l'shma psula. The teacher will say that the initial stage of the carbon, i.e. the shchita, must be done l'shma. If it's done l'shma, then ultimately again it's kasher. If it's not done l'shma, then it'll be pasul. Pesach ne'emar bo hu bezvicha. By Pesach, I will say, what's the halacha? By Pesach, it says the word hu by the shchita. Hu lishmo kasher, shelo lishmo pasul. Right? Also by Pesach, the word hu appears by the shchita. If the shchita is done, lishma, then it'll be kasher. If not, it'll be pasul. Aval asham lo ne'emar bo hu elo la'achar haktaras imurin. I'll say, interestingly enough, by asham, the hu only appears where? Only appears, I will say, by the section concerning the burning of the sacrificial limbs. And furthermore, we know about said that when it comes to the asham, by asham, will say even if the limbs were not offered up at all, nevertheless, what the carbon is kasher. We'll say we touched on this a little bit. The ikar part of any carbon is what is the zrika. Once the zrika is done, even if for some reason you did not carry through on some other part of the sacrificial service, the carbon itself is kasher. The Gemara wants to suggest as follows: the who by Asha. Remember, what have we established? That the word who means what? The word who means what? That it has to be done l'shma. So fine, it says who by Chatos, it says who by Pesach, it says who by Asham. Just like who by Chatos, who by Pesach tells you that those have to be done l'shma, so too who by Asham tells you that it also has to be done l'shma. Here's the problem: the who by Chatos and the who by Pesach are written by the shchita, the initial stage of the carbon. To tell you, the carbon has to be done mitchila l'shma. The who by Asham appears where? By the burning of the limbs. Here's the problem: that even by the burning of the limbs, everyone agrees that of course you're supposed to do it, but if you didn't do it at all, the carbon is still kosher. Therefore, what? The who there cannot mean lishma. So therefore, we're stuck again trying to figure out from where do we know ultimately again that Asham has to be offered lishma. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer, Hare Omer kechatos ke'asham. We'll say the pasuk says kechatos ke'asham. Right, just like the chatos, like is the asham. Ma chatos shalo l'shma pasal. Af asham shalo l'shma pasal. So we'll say this seems to be a pretty straightforward limud. The Gemara says the pasuk links chatos and asham. That's it. Just like a chatos has to be done l'shma, so too again asham has to be done l'shma. Amar mar, Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua chozrani chalila. So we'll say, let's go back for just a second. So we'll say, so this seems to be a pretty ironclad limud. In other words, why we didn't lead with this one is actually interesting, right? We'll discuss why. There is a hole in it, but we'll say. But the point over here is the Gemara is saying kechatas kasha. Fine. So now we're going to take a step back. So remember again, originally, what Rabbi Eliezer wanted to say was as follows. The Gemara wanted to suggest that ultimately Rabbi Eliezer says that chatas comes for a chet, asham comes for a chet. Just like chatos has to be done shalom, just like chatos shalom shema is possible, so to an asham shalom shema is possible. Rabbi Yeshua then says, remember, you can't compare asham to chatos. Why? Chatos, the blood is sprinkled above, asham below. Rabbi Eliezer says, well, no. What about Pesach? Pesach is sprinkled below, and shalom shema is possible. To which Rabbi Yeshua said, Pesach is zmano kavua, asham is not zmano kavua. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, chatos. To which Rabbi Yeshua says, we're going to keep going in circles. To which the Gemara says, so, Amar lo, Rabbi Yeshua, Chazrani Chalila, V'la mehadir dina, v'lai sebe ma'atzad. So I don't understand. You don't have to keep going back in circles. Rather, just redirect the limud. Learn out about ma'atzad. We'll say ma'atzad is like a common denominator. Mishum de'ikal mifrach. So we'll say learn out from the common denominator. Rashi says, it's the first short line on the top of Rashi, the Pesach v'chatos ne'acholin liyom v'layla, afani avi asham. But we'll say, so both Pesach and chatos can be eaten for one day and one night. So learn out from a common denominator to asham to say what? To say that Allah L'maisa, just like Pesach and chatos could be eaten for one day and one night, and if you offer them up shelo l'shmo, it's possible. So to asham, which can be eaten for one day and one night, if you offer up shelo l'shmo, it's possible. To which the Gemara says, because also I could have said the common denominator between Pesach and Chatos is that they both have a tzad of kares, which ultimately again does not apply to Asham. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua lo im amrat bechata shekin dama lamalo. So remember again, we said you can't compare Asham to Chatos. Why not? Because by Chatos the blood is sprinkled above the red line on the mizbeach. V'lei lo im amrat bechata shekin nichnas dama lefnai v'lefnim. Ultimately, you say by chatos that the blood of the chatos is brought inside the in lefnai v'lefnim, means in the kodesh kadashim. Remember on Yom Kippur, the blood of the chatos ultimately again is offered up even in the kodesh kadashim. To which the Gemara says, "Bechatas hachitzonos kamina." No, we're only talking about the external chatos, not about the chatos of Yom Kippur. Shem nichnas dam lefnai v'lefnim psula. That if that blood is brought on the inside kodesh kadashim, will be possible. Isle Rabbi Eliezer afa asham shekim mechaperes al chay bekrisos. So why don't you say ultimately again it's different, right? Chatos and Pesach will be different. I will say because ultimately again that they could be mechaper and chay bekrisos. Mechatos the shmias kol. Because look at Rashi just a moment. Mechatas to Shmias Kol. Yolef Rabbi Eliezer de'ina ba'al kares. We can be talking about the Chatas of Shmias Kol, which is the case of if you know Eidos, but ultimately again you swear that you don't. You bring a Chatas. That's not a din kares. Shekein tu'una arba matanos. Why don't you say the matzah ultimately again will be that they require 4 blood applications? Rabbi Shmuel Silber kol hadamim tu'una arba matanos. Fine. We'll say first wide line. Shekein tu'una al arba kronos. Why don't you say that the matzah ultimately again will be what? That the blood is applied on all 4 corners. Or the ta'amech ha'ika etzba. Rabbi say, using your logic, why don't you say that ultimately again it requires an application of the finger? Or as Rabbi say, it's actually very interesting that we're looking at Rashi ula ta'amech tuva havide Rabbi Yoshua lemifrach ta'ika keren ve'etzba v'toda. Rabbi say, listen to this. The Gemara is just saying over here. Using your logic, ha'ika etzba, ha'ika keren, ha'ika chuda. We'll say there are many differences that chatas has over other karbanos. Specifically, again, that by other karbanos, ultimately, again, the blood is sprinkled from a kli versus chatas where the blood is applied with the finger. Chuda, other karbanos, the blood is applied on the top of the corners. Here it's applied on the down the length of the corner. Elachad mitrei plus taminakit. Rather, says the Gemara, we're only trying to go ahead and bring a couple of differences. Amar Mar, Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Loim Amrot, Leimalei Rabbi Eliezer, Asham Nami Dama Lemala. Why don't you also say that according to why does Rabbi Eliezer also respond that Asham can also have its blood sprinkled above the line? Amar Abaye, Asham Damo Lemala, Lo Matzis Amritz Kavachomer Meola. Both say, so the truth is, the Gemara says, you can't. The fact that the asham's blood is applied above the line. Lo matzis amis kavachomer meola ma ola she kalil dama lamata. We'll say ola, which is totally burnt on the mizbeach. Its blood is sprinkled below the line. Asham sheno kalil lo kol shekain. Then asham will say, which is not totally consumed on the mizbeach, all the more so. To which the Gemara answers, mala ola shekain ena mechaperes. But one second, when it comes to ola, I will say ola does not provide for atonement. So if you look at Rashi says over here, actually not yet, I'm sorry. Ola is not a carbon which provides kapara. Chata sa'of tochiach. So we'll say in that case again, chata sa'of ultimately again will prove this point. Look at Rashi, first wide line in Rashi, chata sa'of, dama lamata, the blood is sprinkled below, and yet what? That does not provide kapara. To which the Gemara says, ma'ala chata sa'of, Shekein eno min zevach. So we'll say chatas is a little bit different. Why? Because chatas we'll say does not really constitute a real carbon. In that what? It's not offered up with shchita, rather it's just offered up with malika. Ola tochiach. So the ola will prove this point. To which the Gemara says lo reizeh kerizeh, v'lo reizeh kerizeh. At the end of the day, we'll say all of these cases are really dissimilar. Hatzada shava sheva. And what is the common denominator? Shehin kodshe kadoshim. They are all, I will say, of the highest order of sacrificial items. The daman lemata, and their blood is sprinkled below the line. Af ani avi asham shu kodesh kadashim v'dama lemata. So to I will say, I will have to bring asham, which is a kodesh kadashim, but its blood is sprinkled below the line as well. Amalei Rava mi Parzakya. So Rava Parzakya came along and said, as far as Ravashi. Why don't you say the following? Most of this is interesting. Why don't you say the common denominator of them is that I will say none of them have a bottom threshold for their value. In other words, you could bring a carbon of any value. Tamar ba'asham sheyesh lo kitzva. Ultimately, again, I will say an asham does have a minimum value. If you look at the second line of Rashi, imlam kitzva l'dmeim, the asham yesh la kitzva dama bekesef shkalim. We'll say an asham has a minimum value of 2 shkalim. You can't bring an asham worth less than 2 shkalim. Ela hainu taima de Rabbi Eliezer. Rather, again, what is logic of Rabbi Eliezer? Damakra hakoin amechate osa. The kohen ultimately again who offers it up. Osa dama lemala. It is only the blood of the asham whose blood is offered up above the line. Ve'in damo shel acher lemala. But other sacrificial blood abosa is not offered above the line. If that's the case, chatas nami nema osa lishma kshera shelo lishma psula. Why don't you say something by chatas? Osa means that it's only a chatas which has to be offered up the shema, that it's kosher and shelo l'shma will be pasul. Hashar zvachim, but other karbanos, bein l'shman, bein shelo l'shman ksherin. Ultimately, they're offered up the shema, shelo l'shma will be kosher. Ha'u osa lav dafka dasher pesach. Now, we'll say already again, you can't say that the osa of chatos will be dafka. Why? Because also we already know for sure that what? That chatos is not the only carbon that needs to be offered up the shema. We already know that what else is in that category? Carbon pesach. Hachanami lav dafka. So too again we can say that this lav dafka as well. The hashir ola saof. Because also you have the case of ola saof. Bizvicha mialo shir midi. Also, one can make the argument that at least in the case of shchita, there is no other case. The other possibility is Hamani, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. The other possibility is whose opinion does this reflect? It's Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Damar Hai Makom Luchud, Vahai Makom Luchud, which will say ultimately again. If you look at Rashi, Damar Hai Makom, it's 6 lines up from the bottom of Rashi. The Chatas Bei Meluchud, Uda Olas Haof Luchud, Afa Pisha Shneim Lamala. So we'll say even though both of these blood applications are done above the line, each are done in their own distinct place. The bloods applied below the red line of the Mizbeach ultimately again are applied below the red line, but the blood applications that are done above the red line, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, B'medram Umurim, Ba'ola Sa'of. That's only true by the Ola Sa'of. Aval Bechatas Behima, Hi Atzma Einase Ella Al Gufa Shal Karen. So we'll say it's interesting. What the Gemara is suggesting over here is that the blood applications that are done above the blood applications below the red line, there are no distinctions between where that blood is placed. The blood applications above the red line, I will say, the Gemara suggests that not all blood applications are the same. For example, the Gemara says that when do we say you just sprinkle above the red line? That's by Ola Sa'of. Aval Bechatas Behema, for example, Hi Atzma Einase Ella Al Gufa Shal Karen. Even though that blood application is done, quote unquote, above the red line, nevertheless, the Gemara will say it's not anywhere above the red line. Rather, where is it done? Dafka on the corner itself. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Ba'ola Sa'of Aval Bechatas Behema Einase Ella Al Gufa Shal Karen. We'll say it's 4 lines up from the bottom of Rashi. Ha'even Shel Amo Al Amo Sheberosh HaMizbeach. Shekola mata min akranos psula, va'afa pishehi lamala min achot arba amos. Suppose say, for example, when it comes ultimately again, the Gemara says by chatos behema, it's not enough for the blood application to be done above the red line. Rather, where does the blood application have to be done? It actually has to be done on top, on the actual corner of the mizbeach itself. So suppose say, so bottom line, halacha lamaisa. How do we pass like this? Remember again, all of this is all discussion about the shita of Rabbi Eliezer, right? Rabbi Eliezer holds that halacha lemaisa. Again, not so. Let's go with what we agree with. Everyone agrees that under normal circumstances, the halacha is a carbon that is offered up l'shma, shelo l'shma, is going to be what? Is going to be kosher. The only exception is that what? It does not count towards the obligation of the owners. The two exceptions to this rule, which everyone agrees on, that if a carbon is offered up shalosh shma, it will be possible is what? Chatas, asham. Rabbi Eliezer comes to go ahead and include what? Asham. Sorry. The two exceptions to this rule that everybody agrees on are chatas and pesach. Chatas and pesach. Rabbi Eliezer comes along and he wants to say asham is also possible. Where does Rabbi Eliezer get this from? So I will say on the most basic level, Rabbi Eliezer already says in the Mishnah, he says that chatas, that asham is included. Why? Because ultimately, again, chatas is a sin offering, asham is a sin offering, just like chatas shalosh mas pasul, so too asham shalosh mas pasul. We'll say bottom line, the Gemara says we don't paskin like Rabbi Eliezer. Because even though Rabbi Eliezer wants to link asham with chatas because they're sin offerings, what we've seen from this entire Gemara is what? There are too many dissimilarities. Right? There are too many things that are dissimilar about asham. Will still be kosher, just will not satisfy the obligation ultimately of the owners. Right?
Kept losing his connection. I hope it worked. I don't know. I don't know what's going on today. Keeps losing his connection. Looks like everything is okay. I don't know what's. Maybe that'll work.
Did it work?
I don't know. It kept losing its connection, but then it kept saying it was publishing. So it looked like somebody was watching. So I don't know. Something wasn't right, and it didn't lose much battery, so that's worrying me. I don't know what's going on today. It looks like it's all plugged in. Everything's fine. This thing's now red, which is, I just turned it off. I don't know. We'll see.
Sorry?
What was inside?
Oh, Mahatzad. Come down later. It's just like it's just a tool to learn halachas from one place to another.
I missed our call.
I'm sorry.
I meant to call you. I missed the call all the time. The office.
Yeah, myself is best. Yeah, myself. Yes. It's even better.
Hit don't accept it. Busy.
If I'm busy, I will.
Like,
Heavy?
but like the rest of it. Right.
For one night, the Four Seasons. You guys have done this here.
True. And not the one strength was the lineup. 1,000%. Look at these guys. I know, yeah. No, you can't make this up.
this is far from fantasy.
It should be fantasy, yeah. Crazy.
He's always a bad guy. Like in all the movies, he always played like the lead bad guy.
It was also nice, they were on the bases afterwards.
I'm so happy to see the truck mark. That's all it's
That's like you hope that, all right, the next two guys. No, man, it's like, I remember.
He was like he was every movie. He was always like the bad guy.
Because they're on the I know who called it.
Long. Thanks.
Yes.
So annoying. So couldn't stop.
There are a couple things that Mike's not going to be happy with. This is one of them.
Yeah.
Comes with it.
I think a lot of people are. Hey, a lot of people go off the head.
All right.
No, I mean, I know. Yeah. It was, RDF. I don't know what it's called, but I know there's a description. By the way, we brought bikes, and that brought really fun. They walk, that's nice. And then when
All right. Do they have a place? Is there a place for prepaid meals? Sorry. Is there a place for prepaid meal shopping?
No, to the show.
See, that's like another.
No, I
Who does the food?
I also talked to give it to. Who does what for the person?
You cater the food shop.
Here?
I know we're talking about.
Oh, it's on something else?
Yeah.
So that would
It's here.
John? You know what? I'm not sure, but this time, I never thought about it, you know, if you want to create a
Like baseball players.
maybe that'd be interesting, not shove, but get some flexibility,
Kind of bad.
so he can feel like,
Or
if there's like, you go to the bar and say, listen, right, somebody
Yeah,
can
we still baseball. They were like,
have to be exit in like here, you make it a little bit easier for him to satisfy. I was thought about it like that.
Up below 200.
That's pretty bad.
Well, I told you, I watched the,
Mendoza line.
6-minute summary. Oh, yeah. What do you watch that?
Yeah, right there. Sugar, you got sugar?
Sugar?
Yeah.
Popped up the school. I was still on like Yahoo. Sports.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, actually real show.
Hey.
So all of a sudden, like, jumped out. Yeah, 4.
All right, we're going. Yeah, that's the way it is, man. I think they'll pick it up. I think they'll pick it up.
So, either the winner or
Yeah, it's gonna be 2, 1, 3,
Right,
and 30.
right.
Right?
No, I don't know about that. He's not hitting home runs anymore.
I don't know what happened to that guy.
Huh?
What happened to that guy?
I think it's in his head now too.
I know that they water off through the field.
Yeah, that's my dad said.
I feel like he got it kind of on.
Yeah, they, also, I hate the fact that, I hate the no emotion, right? No people with you. Get frustrated, you see that?
Break the battle.
Yeah.
I was with Columbus.
Yeah.
See some, that's part of it.
How's Arizona doing? How's Columbus? They're off.
Back in the days.
And he's been good.
He's the only one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, man. He's
That
been
340 with 8 fingers.
$1 billion.
Literally, right?
Playing baseball.
just getting up, going to the house.
Yeah, I get gazillion dollars.
I'm always thinking about all the cats.
I don't even